here's what you should count in favor of the Democrats. Widening federal hate crimes laws to cover sexual orientation and gender identification. They just did that. Matthew Shepard and James Byrd law, and that went in with the Defense Authorization Bill. And so it has been widened to cover, as they point out here in the Wall Street Journal, gender identification and sexual orientation. Now, we know that. We just covered that. So that's good. That's definitely positive. And they also tightened the rules of admissible evidence for military commissions. The Bush administration was saying, hey, look, we'll do military commissions. It was kind of like a kangaroo court. If we tortured people, et cetera, we'll admit that evidence anyway, even though we've known throughout our legal history that that kind of evidence is unreliable. So they got those two things done, and when the Republicans were in charge, they didn't get them done. And the Matthew Shepard law went up for vote 14 times, and they've been struggling for 12 years on it. So does it make a difference if there's a Democrat or a Republican? Yes. Now, given that the Democrats won, was it a fairly easy victory? I've got to say that it was. Now, you don't take it away from them. That's definitely one in the win columns. All right, so now let's give them a little bit more credit here. They also did the Bedletter Act, which makes it easier for women to sue for equal pay. Another victory that Democrats care a lot about, rightfully so. They set aside land in the West for development, from development, so you can't drill in large tracts of the land that they set aside for public use. And then they gave the government power to regulate tobacco and to raise tobacco taxes to expand health insurance for children. Also, two important wins, and none of this stuff got done under Republicans, nor would it have ever gotten done under Republicans. If McCain had won, you would have had none of this, okay? So now, when you go after tobacco, now the tobacco lobby is greatly weakened these days, but at least they went after a lobby. Now, the other stuff is easier because you didn't have a major lobby to fight against. There was no power fighting you back altogether that hard. Nobody makes that much money on what the rules of evidence are in a military commission. Now, the Republicans fight you on it anyway, but the real question is, do the lobbyists fight you? Because they're the real power, right? But they beat the lobbyists a little bit in tobacco, and then here they are in the final set of accomplishments here. They killed weapons programs that have survived earlier attempts at termination. Again, I'm quoting the Wall Street Journal here. Among them, the F-22 fighter jet, the VH-71 presidential helicopter, and the Army's future combat system. Now, those are real wins against power, because the military-industrial complex has no interest in letting go of any weapons program, no matter how ridiculous, how unworkable, and how expensive, right? Because they make money off that. But they were aided in that victory by an unlikely ally. Unlikely just because you wouldn't normally think of this person as an ally, but he's been a leader in this issue. John McCain. John McCain came out very strongly in favor of getting rid of those programs which he thought was wasteful, and he helped President Obama do that, and he helped rally some Republicans to that cause. So and there it is, bipartisanship. And so give credit to both sides on that one. So they got some things done. So I don't want anybody pretending that it doesn't matter if it's a Democrat or a Republican wins or that Obama hasn't gotten anything done. I never say that. That's not what I'm saying. Now, when you go to the negative side of the ledger, well, that's where we got the issues. Now, we know in healthcare reform, through every single source, every single report, that the Obama White House has been pushing for the trigger all along. Now, the trigger is a joke. It's saying, oh, it's exactly old Washington. We're going to give you reform. Ha ha, we're kidding. No, we're not. We're going to call it reform, but we're going to say we'll just take it up 5 years from now. I mean, that's the same old Washington that we thought Obama ran against. And that's what his White House, through Rahm Emanuel, apparently pushed all along. And now that fight is not over. And if you think the trigger is already gone, think again. You got Joe Lieberman and some of the other corporatist Democrats holding up the bill on the Senate side, and Rahm Emanuel and the Obama White House might come back with the compromise of the trigger. Now, that would be disastrous. And it's not about the trigger. It's not even about the public option. And I wrote about this today on Huffington Post as well. We'll put it up on the YoungTurks.com soon as well. It's not even about healthcare reform in its entirety. It's about what it represents. Is Obama willing to take on real power in Washington, the lobbyists and all the money that they give the politicians? It looks like he cut deals with Big Pharma, the hospitals, and other major healthcare providers. And we know he did. I mean, they say it's public, right? So they got something in return for those deals. They got $80 billion promise from the drug makers and even more than that from the hospitals. And and they had to make some deals I'm uncomfortable with, I understand. But the deal that you can't negotiate away is, wait, are we really going to have this same system survive, where we do private insurance and all they care about is making profit? They don't really care to cover us. Or are we going to challenge that system and provide an alternative where we say, hey, you know what, we're going to cover everybody, and we're not going to do marketing, and we're not going to give billions of dollars to executives, and we're going to make it a lower cost for you. Now, if that's what he negotiates away, and it looks like that's what he's done so far, he still has time to make up for this, but what he's done so far, well, that's a bridge too far. Then you're not really fighting for us, and you're giving in to the power system of Washington. I don't even know if you're giving in. I don't know. Maybe that's what you wanted all along. Maybe Obama's a master chess player, but it wasn't Washington and the power players he was playing. It was us that he was playing. Is that possible? Certainly possible. The jury's still out. It's still early, just the first year, right? Now, the second thing is financial reform. And so far, the financial reform has been comically weak. And those are the real power players. Dick Durbin, number 2 man in the Senate for the Democrats, said the banks still run this place. Even though the banks were bankrupt and the government had to rescue them, it doesn't matter. They got the politicians in their back pockets. So they could keep getting rescued all day long. And so when you put together financial reform, they go ahead and kill it. And they water it down and they water it down. And we've shown you, at this point, almost dozens of cases where the White House, under the leadership of Tim Geithner at Treasury and Larry Summers, the top economic advisor for President Obama, have watered down the reform till you've got almost nothing left. As experts have said, they've got loopholes you could drive trucks through. So are they on our side or are they not on our side? Is that the guy we elected or not? The jury's still out. So that's what I wrote. Arianna Huffington wrote, it's that this is not the audacity of governing, it's the timidity of governing. And Bill Maher also wrote, is this as good as it gets from Obama? And I was heartened by reading Maher and Huffington a little bit, because this is what I've been saying on the show for a long, long time now. And it's good to know that you look around and you go, okay, I'm not the only one. It's that famous scene in Zoolander, if any scene in Zoolander could be famous, where Will Ferrell says, am I the one that took the crazy pill? And so you look around and you go, okay, good, I'm not the only one. Yes, these actions in real reform, real change, are really disappointing so far. Now, he can rescue all this. The financial reform stuff has not gone through Congress yet. He can change his mind and make it tougher. The healthcare reform, it's being decided right now. And he could pressure those Democratic senators to go with a real public option. He can. He hasn't done it yet, but he can. So in a year from Obama's election, it's a little sad, or you could look at it as glass half full and say, you could be hopeful still, have the audacity of hope, if you will, that the jury's still out on him. So let's see what happens in the next year. But I'll tell you what, as I wrote in my blog post, if in the second year he does the same thing he did in the first year, well, then we're not going to get real change. We're going to get mediocre change. We're going to get half-hearted change. We're going to get 5% change. We're going to get change that the lobbyists will agree to. And that's not the change we voted for. And then we got a much tougher fight, because then we'll have to take on the White House as well. And that will be profoundly disappointing. And much more importantly, and this is why it's so critical, look, there's a second calamity coming. The financial system has not been fixed. It will crash again. It's a guarantee. It's not a question of if, it's a question of when. Is it a year, 2 years, 5 years? We don't know, right? But if the system isn't fixed, the same exact things that led to this first crash will lead to the second crash. And then the second crash, we have no more money. We're out of money. And so that's why it's got to get fixed now. That's why, in my opinion, it's the most critical issue. And if Obama's not on our side and he doesn't really intend to fix it, well, then we're in a world of trouble. And so, as I wrote and as Eminem would say, who's the real Slim Shady? Will the real Slim Shady please stand up? And we got to ask, will the real Barack Obama please stand up? He doesn't have that much more time anymore. And if the real Obama is the one that is not pushing for reform, but to keep the status quo, that obviously is a very, very bad sign.